They're going to say your insurance rates are going to double, your electrical rates are going to go through the roof. Just expect to hear everything over the next year and a half. They're just going to be hammering electric vehicles, trying to instill a fear in people's heart, like, do not get near these things. They're going to catch fire. I mean, just every negative thing you can think of, because a lot of people stand to lose a lot of money. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having another great day today. And today, I just want to discuss the falling EV sales rates. At least that is the narrative that's being put out there. I just want to talk about some of the reasons why. And usually when I hear these news reports, they're usually referring to car dealerships. And anyone who has purchased an EV, like a Tesla or a Rivian or Lucid from an actual EV company, would probably have a different experience. But I did have the experience of actually purchasing an EV from a car dealership, and I will have to say that it is quite different from purchasing an EV from an EV manufacturer that just totally concentrates on producing EVs. They have a vested interest in EV sales, being successful, and the whole thing with the charging infrastructure. They have a vested interest in getting everything right when it comes to electric vehicles, because that is their bread and butter. That's all they have to sell. The same is not true for the big automakers, and I mean Stellantis, which is Chrysler, Ford, and GM. Now, I made a video a little while back, a few months ago, maybe about 6 months ago. I can't really remember, but the series is called the Pretenders, the Fakers, and the EV Makers. And in that video series, I predicted exactly what's happening right now, that there was going to be a slowdown in EV sales, and it was going to be, I don't want to say, how do I put this, intentional. Basically, what the point of that series was is to kind of identify automakers that didn't really have a vested interest in making electric vehicles. In fact, quite the opposite, and that they were probably take efforts to kind of slow the sale of EVs because it's really not in their best interest to sell them. And I kind of explained all of that in that series. If you want to go, you can go back and watch those. But this is just a follow-up to that because everything that I predicted in those videos came true, including all the union negotiations and the union demands and how the unions would come out against electrification also, and how the automakers were going to pull back. And that's exactly what has happened. And I don't fault the automakers for doing this. They're in the business of making money. They're publicly traded companies. They have to produce a profit for their stockholders to make them happy, because people are investing in these companies and they're expected to get a return on their investment. Totally understand it's a free market system. That's how it works. But if you're an EV advocate, you may have a different take on it. And me, I have a more agnostic view on it. Like I said, I understand that these companies have to make money, and also understand that EVs are great. I like them, and I think that a lot of people will be better off with electric vehicles, especially with the lower maintenance costs, hopefully, depending on the brand of vehicle that you get. No need to get fuel, and how you can charge a vehicle from your home. So there's a lot of benefits that the average consumer could really benefit from electric vehicles. But let me focus in on General Motors, because I kind of predicted exactly what was going to happen with them and Ford. And you see, if you look in the headlines, they pull back production. In fact, Ford cut production of the F-150 Lightning in half. They cut about 50%, which is kind of surprising because just last month they had their highest, they hit record sales. So is demand down for the truck, or is it that they may not want to produce the truck? Same goes with the Chevy Silverado EV. They pushed that back out into the future. Say maybe 2025, 2026. That is a vehicle I think would be in very high demand. In fact, out of all the electric vehicles that come out as far as electric trucks, and that includes the Rivian R1T, the Hummer SUV, the Chevy Silverado EV, and the Ford F-150 Lightning, and the Tesla Cybertruck, it was the Chevy Silverado EV that had me, wait a minute, let me take a look at this. This might actually have me, cheat on my Rivian. That Chevy Silverado EV looking real nice. And one of the things I really like about it, how they have that mid gate, and I could put, 10 foot long pieces of wood lumber in there, or either pipe or anything. Which anyone who does any type of construction know exactly what I'm talking about. Why that mid gate is so important. But I thought that was an awesome vehicle, and that's something I probably, around $110,000, I would consider purchasing. The only drawback with that is that it's just too big of a truck again. Like the F-150 Lightning is kind of too big for my lifestyle. But anyway, so they decided to pull back on it, and also they discontinued the Chevy Bolt, which is the most affordable electric vehicle out there. Period. You can probably get one in the low 20s when you factor in the federal incentive. So, and people love those Chevy Bolts, but they discontinued it. Say they want to move it to the Ultium platform. So I'm not sure why they stopped producing the Chevy Bolt. At least I have my suspicions. And that's kind of what I want to pivot to, is that, and this is just my own opinion. Like I said, I thought this was going to happen the whole time, that they were going to looking for an excuse to slow down EV sales. However, at the same time, they need to look as if they're putting in the effort. And they did an excellent job with that. They put out the Cadillac Lyriq. I test drove the vehicle. It's an excellent vehicle. Chevy Silverado EV, that big, gigantic Hummer EV. They have the Chevy Blazer out. So they're putting out electric vehicles. But are they faking? Or are they just faking it? I think they might be faking, and I think they might be faking it. And I will say I would understand why. If you look, matter of fact, I have a question for you. Who do you think has the most profitable factory out of auto manufacturers? In fact, one of these auto manufacturers has the most profitable factory in the world. Not just auto manufacturing, just period. And I'll give you a hint, it's out of Texas. And if you guess the Texas Gigafactory, you are wrong. It is the Arlington factory, GM Arlington factory. And they make big trucks and SUVs. And so you probably see where I'm going with this. GM makes a lot of profit off of trucks and SUVs. So does Ford. That's their bread and butter. In fact, they don't even make cars. And so when I watch a lot of this commentary, I was like, what are they talking about? Why would they be concerned about Tesla? They don't even make cars. Tesla makes cars. They don't, not until recently, make a truck. And that's not even a traditional truck. They probably want to really appeal to traditional truck buyers. I'm pretty sure that GM is not losing sleep over anything that Tesla is doing right now. Maybe that could change in the future, but as of right now, why? They don't sell cars. They sell big trucks and SUVs, and they make a lot of profit off of selling these trucks and SUVs. And I mean internal combustion engine trucks and SUVs. And it's not that they can't make a profit off of electric vehicles. They can. It's just the fact that they can make even more profit off of gas vehicles. They just can. This is their bread and butter. They've been doing it for years. They mastered it. They know what their customers want. They already have suppliers lined up and everything. And they know that eventually they're going to switch to electric vehicles. But why not make as much profit as you can right now? And this is the point where I understand their strategy. They say we have all these components, and we're right in a position where you can make a lot of profit right now, and then kind of still keep our foot on the pedal with electric vehicles. So when it comes time to make that pivot, we're not caught totally off guard. We're still in the game. And I will say that GM makes some very good electric vehicles. And I would say out of all the auto manufacturers, GM is the biggest threat. And you may think I'm crazy, but I have owned a GM. It was a plug-in hybrid, series hybrid electric vehicle, the Chevy Volt, not the Bolt, but the Volt. And I had one for 12 years. I had two of them. I had the first edition and then the second edition. And out of the 6 years I owned my second one, I never had an issue with it, not once. I had to take it for a few oil changes, maybe once. I don't know. In the 6 years I had it, but The first one, it had a couple issues with it, but it was a new vehicle at the time. It was the first edition, of course. That's why they always say wait a year, and because you're pretty much a beta tester if you're getting that car for the first year. But that vehicle was awesome. They can make a good electric vehicle. I love the Cadillac Lyriq. I'm going to check out. I'm going to check out the Chevy Blazer. I really love that Chevy Silverado EV. And I mean, that thing gets 450 miles of range. You can probably get over 250 miles of range towing. So that's actually a vehicle you can use to tow stuff. So they make a great electric vehicle and they know their customers. They make a good looking car. That Chevy Blazer is a very nice looking vehicle. I know the reports. So this car had all these issues, this test vehicle that one of the auto journalists was testing, but that's just one vehicle. And usually first model year, you expect issues. The same happened with Rivian and Tesla. Even if a car manufacturer has been producing the same vehicle for a long time, you can expect anytime there's a massive update or they're introducing a new model, just expect that there's going to be issues. But so GM, I think they have an awesome strategy. You may not agree with their strategy, but they're playing chess. They are making chess moves. And if you didn't know this, look up Nevi Funding and GM Energy. They're installing a lot of charging stations across the country. I think right now they plan on installing 200 of them across the country by the end of next year. And they have canopies. They have a place to eat, a place to use the bathroom. They're partnering with Pilot and in EVgo, and they have canopies that say that has GM Energy on it. And these are CCS chargers with the CCS connector. And so with me, again, I look and I scratch my head and say, aren't they supposed to be switching over to NACS? And if so, why are they installing all of these stations across the nation with CCS connectors? What is GM really up to? And like I said, I love strategy, and I'm just kind of wondering what they're doing. And as far as Ford is concerned, their issue is different. Do they want to be in an electric game? I'm not really sure. They still make a lot of profit off of trucks. And I really wonder if it weren't for the EPA really strictening the guidelines for emissions, if any of these companies would make electric vehicles at all. Outside of Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid, those companies like that. I'm not sure if they would. I look at Ford and looking at the F-150. I don't know if you knew this, but originally Ford was working with Rivian. They had a heavy investment in Rivian, and they were thinking about using Rivian's skateboard platform, so they can produce their own electric vehicles. But they was like, hey, let's hurry up and get to the market. We want to beat Rivian, and we're just going to throw this F-150 out. That's basically just a ICE electric vehicle body, and we're going to put it on an electric frame. And so it's not an electric vehicle built from the ground up, which is why it's probably not performing as well, because who really is it marketing to? A traditional gas truck buyer? Electric vehicles are more expensive. Why would not just get a regular internal combustion engine instead of spending all this extra money for a electric one? And it looks exactly the same. So it's not really pull in a non-truck purchaser like a person like myself. I don't think it will. And that may be why they were struggling with sales, where a company like Rivian built an electric vehicle from the ground up, electric truck, specifically designed for a specific purpose, which is why they're experiencing more success, because they niched the market, and they had a pretty good differentiation strategy when it comes to, okay, who are we going to market this vehicle to, and how we're going to distinguish ourselves from these traditional truck companies. So just to kind of wrap things up, GM knows exactly what they're doing, and they're making chess moves, and I would keep my eye on that company. A lot of people make fun of the CEO of GM, and I really don't think they care, because they're making some very strategic moves. They're playing 3D chess, and I don't think these other companies are going to really be able to keep up with them, because I think they will be able to turn on a dime. And I believe the company is going to get caught out the most is going to be all the Japanese manufacturers. They still want to go with plug-in hybrid vehicles. And I say, hey, that Chevy Volt was a plug-in hybrid. I loved it. It's really good for people who may have range anxiety. But with all these NEVI-funded charging stations going in across the nation over the next 5 years, that's not going to be an issue anymore, especially with the Tesla supercharger network also opening up to all these vehicles. That's not going to be an issue anymore. So most people should be able to make long distance trips without really experiencing any type of range anxiety. And I think this is going to really catch the Japanese out. All the, Mazda, Toyota, Honda, all of them going to get caught out because they are not serious about making electric vehicles. In fact, they do not want to make them. And they have been clear about this. And their CEO was clear about this, and he explained that that switching to electric vehicles is going to cost millions of jobs in Japan. He said EVs require fewer moving parts, and it requires half the amount of labor to produce them. And that would cost millions of jobs, and that can be devastating to the Japanese economy. And I don't really feel, I have my concerns. I think that out of all the companies, the car manufacturers, they're going to get caught out the most because they still want to stick with plug-in hybrid vehicles, which are great. They make great hybrid vehicles. They've been doing it for years. They have decades of experience in producing these vehicles. And just like with GM and Ford with their all their skill and all their knowledge producing big trucks and SUVs, the same can be said with all these Japanese manufacturers when it comes to hybrid and just producing high quality, highly fuel efficient vehicles. But I give it about 5 years before people really start to make that switch. When that range anxiety thing has gone away, they're going to get caught out. And because a hybrid vehicle was great maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but in the next 3 to 4 years, that's a flip phone. That is, it's going to be a flip phone, especially when a lot of level 2 chargers get installed at apartment complexes, shopping centers, and people just can do convenience opportunity charging. That's going to make it even more difficult. Why would I get an hybrid vehicle where I have two things to worry about? You got to worry about a gas engine, and you have to worry about that battery that can still go bad. And now you have two potential problems you have to contend with. And I don't think a lot of people really think about that. And as far as fires are concerned, they talk about electric vehicle fires, and what they really mean, they're talking about hybrid and plug-in hybrid vehicles. They have the highest fire risk out of any vehicle. The lowest is a battery electric vehicle. A fully electric vehicle has the lowest fire risk. And then right above that is the gas vehicles. And then by far, the hybrid vehicles have the highest fire risk because you have two opportunities. You have the battery, and you have a tank full of gas in the vehicle too. So you're doubling your risk with that. And the cost, hybrid vehicles can be expensive, especially a plug-in hybrid vehicles. Again, you have two opportunities. And plus, you still have all the maintenance that you will have with a gas vehicle. And so they're banking their strategy on this, and I can understand why they are doing what they're doing. But I think they're going to get caught out, and they will not be able to recover. And Toyota may be struggling, and the same with Honda and Mazda and all these other companies that don't have any electric vehicles, not a serious one anyway. I know they have a few, but those are just compliance vehicles. Those are not real electric vehicles. So I just want to put that out there, and just over the next year or so, just expect to hear more negative stories on electric vehicles. Every little thing that can go wrong, you're going to hear about it, especially there's a thing about Kia and their battery costs. There's just going to be a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt being put out over the next year or so. Expect it to intensify, and you're going to hear every story you possibly can about how electric vehicles are expensive and the battery this. That's what you're going to hear. The charging story is going to start to slowly go away. Now, the next thing, you got to really hamper down on that battery and really instill the fear of anyone looking at getting an electric vehicle that battery is going to go bad and you're going to have to pay for it. They're going to say your insurance rates are going to double, your electrical rates are going to go through the roof. Just expect to hear everything over the next year and a half. They're just going to be hammering electric vehicles, trying to instill a fear in people's heart, like, do not get near these things. They're going to catch fire. I mean, just every negative thing you can think of, because a lot of people stand to lose a lot of money once we switch over to electric vehicles. That includes mechanics, any type of oil changing places, suppliers for parts, a lot of union jobs, because electric vehicles only require about half the labor to put them together, because there's so many, there's fewer moving parts. So I mean, a lot is at stake. So just don't be surprised when you hear all the negativity. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know some of the things that you think, some of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's going to be placed into the market space to make people just shy away from electric vehicles. But that's all I have for today. I'd like to thank you for joining me again, and I can't wait to see you on the next video.